listening to Rescue Community Church. For more information, check us out at www.rescue.cc.
Two things are going to happen this morning. I'm going to giggle. I might close my eyes a little bit, and I may look back there. So Tom's normally just fine with this. And here's the thing. I have been embarrassed these past couple of weeks. I've learned a lot. I've been horrified. I've been mortified, the things that my husband is saying out loud. And usually I'm facing forward, but now I'm looking at all of you while I say these things. So it might be a little bit more difficult than I expected. So we have been talking a lot about love in this God's Not Gray series. We're taking it from Song of Solomon, you know, those ridiculous pickup lines. First of all, if you ever use those on a woman, shame on you. They're terrible. So we're going to be looking at the Song of Solomon in chapter 7 and then chapter 8, verse 6. So today I want to talk to you about love, how love takes action. We've talked about how this couple has gone through dating and falling in love and then getting in a fight and all of these things. And this morning I want to talk to you about the most important thing to me. I think we have to be practical in our relationships. They have to be practical. You can't just expect all of these things to happen. We have to be practical. And so I think that I'm going to give you this morning the most practical way to change your marriage. I want to talk to you this morning about the difference between intentions and actions, and what we intend to do and what we actually do. I think that almost all of us, anytime anyone enters in a relationship, even if it's a friendship or it's a serious dating relationship or you enter into marriage, you don't go into the relationship thinking, I'm going to be a total jerk, I'm just going to never do anything, I'm going to be a slob, I'm going to do all of these terrible things, my wife or my husband's going to hate me. You don't go into a relationship thinking that. You go in with the best intentions. Think about it, girls. Think about how long it takes us to get ready for our first date. And then about a couple months in, it takes a little less time, and we're doing a little less to look nice. And before you know it, we haven't changed out of our yoga pants in 6 days. So let's be honest, 6 days, and we don't want to change them. But here's the problem. What ends up happening in our relationships is that the difference between what we intend to do and what we actually do creates tension in our relationships. Think about it. You can have the best intentions in the whole entire world, but if you never act on those intentions, big deal. Who cares what your intentions were? And there's a perfect example in our marriage. My husband, he's talked about it before, was in a really bad car accident his first year of college, and he tore all the muscles and ligaments in his back and neck. So he often has a lot of back pain. And so it's the morning, and he's feeling really sore, and I'm like, babe, I promise that at the end of the day tonight, before you go to bed, I'll give you a back rub. Not that it's a back rub. This a back rub's happening, because we talked about not NST. Do we remember what that is? Non-sexual touch. There is such a thing as that. So when I go in the morning, I'm saying, honey, I'll give you a back rub because I know you're really sore. With the best intentions. But let me tell you, I have 3 children. I have a full-time job. I have things to do. And by the end of the day, Mama has forgotten that she's promised her husband a back rub. And so Tom, it's like, 12:30, and I look like a haggard mess, and I'm like, oh God, thank God for this bed. And Tom's like this, I'm ready. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I have clearly forgotten that I have promised him a back rub. And so he's like, I'm ready for a back rub, I'm ready. And I'm like, really? Do I have to do it? And he's like, no, it's okay, now you're tired. And then I feel like a total jerk. And I'm like, okay, I'll just go to sleep tonight, and then I promise tomorrow you'll get yourself a back rub. So my intentions in the morning are like, my husband's going to get a back rub. I want to help him. He feels crappy, but my actions don't always follow through. And I think that could happen too, even with men. Your best intentions are really to take out the trash, but sometimes us ladies take out the trash. So there are things that happen that we intend to do and we don't put them into action. So in this final week of God's Not Gray, what I want to do is give you some practical ideas of how to close the gap between our good intentions and our actions so that we can have the relationships that God intended us to have. Because God wants us to have incredible relationships. So, and honestly for me, I don't need a 1,000,000-page dissertation on how to have a good relationship. Somebody just give me some really simple things to follow that I can actually put into place. I don't care about all your big, fat, fluffy words. I just want to actually know what to do. So number one is if you think something good, say it every single time. Because in the book of Solomon, it says that there is power in the tongue, that our tongue has life-giving power. You either can bring life to your spouse or your significant other, or you can bring death. The things that you say carry so much weight. And the problem is that most of the time, we don't speak life into our relationships. Most of the time, we don't speak good things into our relationships. The challenge is whenever we start to criticize and we tear down, the Bible actually says that we're seeping poison into our relationships. So it's not like you're just yes, I understand that we all have stressful days and that things come out of our mouth that we wish that we wouldn't, but it's not just something that is said. You can't swallow it back up and pretend it didn't happen. Once it's out there, that's the hard thing about words. Once it's out, that's it, it's out. And it sucks sometimes that you can't rewind what you've said. And so what ends up happening with us is because we're frustrated maybe with our spouses or significant others or even our friends, their intentions have not become actions, so we become frustrated and we criticize and we get angry and we get sarcastic. See, there's something really incredible about blessing the person that you love. And here's the thing, I know that there's some of you here that have a hard time expressing yourself. It's really hard to tell people how you feel. Maybe you're embarrassed or you can't articulate it very well, but I'm going to say something pretty mean this morning. Get over it. Suck it up. It's a person that you have decided to spend your life with or invest time in. Here's the thing, we have a small amount of time on this planet, and if you're married to someone, that's the person that you've chosen to do this life with. If you're going to tell me that you're too embarrassed to tell your spouse or your significant other what they mean to you, then you're probably going to have a sucky relationship. And if you're okay with having a sucky relationship, I feel bad for you. Because there's things that we can do. We have to get over it. Men, how about this? I'm going to tell you over. This thing I keep falling here. Sorry about that. Here's the thing. We women know what you want. I'm not going to say it because I'm already starting to get red. We know what you want, right? So if we already know and you know what you want, so compliment us. Tell us what we mean to you. Give us something. Because I'm telling you, a little goes a long way, gentlemen. A little goes a long way. Here's the thing. And this doesn't count. Don't say, hey, I like your shirt. That's nice. Or, oh, your hair looks different today. I brushed it. Thanks for noticing that I actually brushed my hair today. Don't tell her things that everybody else can tell her. Anybody can come up to me today and say, by the way, I like that blue shirt. So it's not that special if Tom does it. So here's the thing. Tell her things that actually mean something to you. It's the same thing with women. Don't, if your husband actually showers, that week. Don't just be like, thanks for showering. That's not enough. I mean, really, there has to be more. And so what I want to do, I want to challenge you this week. Every single time that you think something positive about your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or even just a friend, say it. Set it free. Text it. Write it. Something. Tell them. Because it is life-changing. My love language, I don't know if you've heard about the 5 love languages, but mine is words of affirmation and gifts. And quite frankly, it's really just 99.9% words of affirmation, and then maybe that 1/100th of gifts. And I would like your gifts to come in cards with words of affirmation. So really, I just want you to tell me that you love me is really all that matters to me. And honestly, for women, it makes a world of difference. Every single time, you guys, when you think of something good, say it. So we're going to dive into our story, the rest of the story, and this is where it's going to get a little awkward. Here it is. So, Solomon, if you have been with us the past couple of weeks, thank you for coming. And if this is your first time, I'm sorry, you're going to hear things you weren't expecting to hear in church. I'm just saying it now. So, Solomon is like the master complimenter. This guy knows how to talk. He lays it on thick, and sometimes he almost goes a little too far. Like this goats of Gilead is super weird. I mean, I'm sure it meant something to her in that time, but it's a little bit weird to me. And here's the thing, he always says something good about his significant other, always. And he's super specific, and it makes a world of difference. And the difference is he doesn't just think those things about his wife, he tells her, he acts on it. You can think something, but saying it makes a difference. As much as we would love our husbands to be mind readers, or you would love your wife to be a mind reader, it's never going to happen. So you have to articulate what you feel. So if we look at chapter 7, we're in Song of Solomon chapter 7. If we remember from weeks before, when Solomon complimented his wife, do you guys remember where he started? When he started talking about her looks, does anybody remember where he started? He started from her head. And he worked his way down. Well, now he's getting creative. So he starts from her feet. So here's what it says. He's really good, honestly. I mean, he really is saying the same things over and over and again, but he's just getting a little bit more creative. So now he started from her feet. He says, "How beautiful your sandaled feet, O prince's daughter. Your graceful legs are like jewels, the work of an artist's hands." Get a load of this one. "Your navel is a rounded goblet that never lacks splendid wine." If my husband said that my navel was like a rounded goblet, first of all, does anybody know how large a goblet is? It's not tiny. It's like the top of it is this big. She has a gigantic belly button. That's all I can think of. And he's pouring wine into it, and I think it's creepy and weird. Apparently, she likes it, though, okay? I don't know what it's supposed to mean, but I guess it's good. Okay, all right, so your navel is perfectly formed like a goblet filled with mixed wine. Oh man. Here we go. I'm going to turn around here and just read this to you from here, okay? "Between your thighs lies a mound of wheat bordered with willies, I said. Jeez, I can't even read it. With lilies. Gosh, I'm going to die. All right, so here's the problem here, folks. First of all, I'm telling you right now, if any of you men compare anything between your wife's legs, your girlfriend's legs, her waist, or any of these things to a mound, you are never going to get anything. Maybe ever again. So I'm not sure why he chooses to say a mound of wheat encircled by lilies. A mound of anything is not good unless it's a mound of chocolate on the table. That's it. So don't compare. This fool he's a little silly here. So mound of anything is unacceptable. All right, so here's the part where I might puke. So he goes to verse 3. He goes right to the bosoms, because I can't say the other, well, I have to say them, so here they go. "Your breasts, oh man, are like two fawns, twin fawns of a gazelle." This guy likes that there's two of them. He always says two. He can't just say and let it alone. He is happy. I feel weird with my hands right now. I don't know what to do with them. So he's happy that there's two of them. So he is super specific. He's excited. He's happy. And here's the thing. In this moment, he's saying these things to her. He's not just thinking these, not on the drive home and just thinking this stuff. He is actually talking to her, and he's being really, really specific about it. So, glad that's over. All right, so here's the thing. What is the one thing, if you can think of the one thing, it's the L word that people say all the time. Even if you don't have a great marriage or you don't have a great relationship, people say, "I love you." Think about it. I say, "I love you" all the time. Or, "See you later, I love you." And it's, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." It gets old. Think about it. I say, "I love pizza," because I do. I love music, because I do. I love all these things. And then I go and tell my husband that I love him. Well, does it really mean that much if I have literally just said, "I love those shoes"? I love these shoes. I really do love them, though. I mean that I love them. So and I really do, if I say that about my shoes and then I only tell my husband that I love him, does it mean as much? No. So here's what I would like you to do. From now until the end of the month, it's only 16 days, right? Today's the 15th, right? It's only 16 days, I think. I want you to add one little thing to your I love you statement. I want you to add the word because. I want you to say, because when you begin to tell your loved one why you love them, it deepens the meaning. It makes them know that you're actually thinking about what you're saying rather than blurting it out. Be specific. I'm sure you all have experienced this before. If my husband has ever texted you, okay? When I text, first of all, I'm paranoid that if I don't put like an exclamation point or a smiley face, or if I don't make sure that they know, that they're just gonna think I'm a jerk. Like, I gotta over text. Maybe it's ridiculous, and I'm sorry if you don't like my texting, I am not gonna change it. So I have to make sure that there's a smiley face, or you know that I'm not being a jerk. Like I can't just put okay to something. Like if somebody asks me something, when they put okay, I'm like, well, are they like, okay? Or are they like, okay, that's fine. I don't know, because I'm reading it on a screen. So my husband is the king of one-word text back. And I'm like, so sometimes he texts, like if I'm driving in the car and somebody texts me, I'll say, hey, text this back for me. But he texts it in Tom text. That's unacceptable to text it in Tom text. You can't, like when somebody says, oh, hey, do you want to get together this week? He'll be like, sure. That's unacceptable. Sure is not enough. You need to say, I would love to get together with 36 exclamation points so that they know that I'm actually excited about it. I do make him put smiley faces or the heart eye ones. I make him do that too. And so I'm like, for real, when you text me these one words, are you mad at me? Because he's not specific enough. He needs to be more specific in his texting ability. And people have said to me about my husband, is your husband mad at me when he texts? I'm like, I know! Doesn't he need some more emoticons? Like, he's not specific enough. So I think when you tell somebody that you care about them, or in regular conversation, you have to be specific. So every single time, when he immediately and just puts one word, I am nervous if he's upset with me. Think about it. When somebody says nothing or very little, where do you go? You automatically go to, not saying that it's logical, but that's where we go. So I want to challenge you over these next couple of weeks, be specific. When you think of something good to say about your significant, and it doesn't even have to be in an intimate relationship, even a friendship relationship. Tell people not what you think about them, because there's some things you shouldn't say. Good things, only good things this week I want you to say. So this is what he does. He's super, super specific. So in verse 5 he says, are we here? Yes. He says, your head is as majestic as Mount Carmel. I feel like she has a gigantic head then. She's got to have a huge melon. And the sheen of your hair radiates royalty. The king is held captive by its tresses. First of all, this guy is he loves long hair. He talks about it all the time. And in the Hebrew, the word captive, because it says the king is held captive by its tresses, the word in this captive means a prisoner put into bonds. So he's literally saying, I am a prisoner of your hair. Like, I want you. I love your hair. It's making me bananas. He's like, your hair does it too. It does it for me. That's it. Your long hair, quite frankly, all he cares about is boobs and hair. That's all this guy cares about. So in 7 and 8, guys, this is the worst part. So if you think you giggled before, I'm not even going to look up. I'm just going to read. So in verse 7 it says, so he's telling his wife this, okay? They're having an intimate conversation. He says, you are slender like a palm tree, okay? He's not, in my verse it says you're slender like a palm in my version, so it's not like the palm of your hand, it's a tree. And your breasts are like its clusters of fruit. Lovely, Solomon, thanks a lot. I said, okay. Why? I will climb the palm tree and take hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like grape clusters and the fragrance of your breath like apples. I hate this. Oh, I really hate it. Anyway, so he is saying, It's in the hashtag that's in the Bible, by the way. That's in there. You just heard it. He basically is saying, I'm going to climb you and I'm going to grab your fruit. That's what he's saying. And evidently, she likes that he wants to climb her because she says, I belong to my beloved and his desire for me. So, that's enough. You know what that means. So, the thing I do like about this, he has gone so specifically and he has taken so much time before that. It wasn't the first thing he said to her. He wasn't like, I want to grab your boobs. That's not how it started. He said so many other things specifically about her that it made her feel loved. It made her feel desired. It made her feel wanted. She didn't feel used just because she has nice fruit. She felt loved by him because he specifically said things that made her feel special. He said it every time. He talked about her fruit. I'm just going to call it fruit from now on. When my kids ask me about them, I'll be like, they're called fruit. So he talked about, she knew that he loved her and that she was important. So he said things all the time. Be specific. Speak life, not death. Number 2, if you think something special, do it. So he talked about if you think something, say it. And if you think about something special, do it. I'm going to break this into 2 parts. I'm going to call it, the first one's going to be called purposeful time. If you're in a relationship, you have to make purposeful time. So after he said all of these things to his wife, so he's climbing her palm tree. She says, she liked it apparently. She said, come, my beloved, let's go to the countryside. Let's spend the night in the villages. In other words, she's saying to him, let's go to a bed and breakfast. Let's get out of our regular home. Let's get out of our regular life. Let's go spend time together. Let's go on a getaway. Let's get out of the everyday. And I think part of what happens in relationships is we get stuck in the everyday. My husband and I both work from home, and now we cyber school our 3 children, all under one roof. We are together 24/7. That's a lot of time in one day to be together, all of us. And I adore my husband more than any man on the planet there. I can't even express the amount of love I have for him. But seeing him every day is not enough to make our relationship grow. It's not enough to make it an amazing relationship. We have to have purposeful time together. We have to have date nights. You have to set, if you've got to put it in your calendar to go away, do it. Your children are going to be fine. Quite frankly, if you have children, they want you to go away. They want to spend time with other people. So make time, make purposeful time. So this is in fact what she does. She says in verse 12, let us go out early to the vineyards and see whether the vines have budded, whether the grape blossoms have opened and the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. In other words, she's saying, let's go celebrate in the vineyard. So I'm not saying to go celebrate in the park. You'll get arrested, so don't do that. Maybe it was legal back then, but if you go celebrate in the park, you're going to be in some trouble. Don't say that came from me. But what I am saying to you is go on a camping trip. Don't take me on a camping trip. Let's do something different, Tom. But some of you might like going on a camping trip. I would like to go to a bed and breakfast, or I would like to go to a hotel, quite frankly, where I don't have to do anything. I want to do nothing on my trip away. So make it purposeful. And here's the thing, ladies, if we tell our husband that we have planned something ahead of time, there's only one thing on his mind that's going to happen on that purposeful time together. And here's the thing, they deserve it. We deserve to enjoy that time. And here's the thing, when we plan purposeful time, something special does happen. You have to make time for each other, and it has to be purposeful. You have to just do it. If you want your relationship to grow, you can't just get caught up in the mundane. I thoroughly enjoy our movie nights with our husband, not our husband, I don't have more than one. One husband, I have one husband. Woo. One husband, folks. Give me a break. But I enjoy those times with him, but it's not like when we go away, we get refreshed, I get time to breathe. I can actually go to the bathroom without my kids. Like, that's one of my favorite parts. I swear my children can be watching TV they can be watching a full movie and not utter a word. Something clicks in their little brains when I walk up the stairs to get a shower or go to the bathroom that they're like, Mommy! Mommy! I'm like, I just want to pee by myself. Leave me alone. You have to get away. You have to make time. Those of you who don't have children yet, just wait. You're never going to do anything by yourself ever again. So this purposeful time, it means a lot. You got to do it. So the second thing is thoughtful acts. So when you think something special, do it. Make it thoughtful. If you think something special, do it in thoughtful acts. Here's what she says in verse 13. The mandrakes give forth fragrance. Whatever. And besides our doors are all choice fruits, new as well as old, which I have laid up for you, O my beloved. You may say, what in the world is mandrakes? It's kind of like raisins for a couple weeks ago. Back then, mandrakes were aphrodisiacs. So here's what happens. He tells her all these wonderful things about her. Then she goes and plans this trip into the village, and she has it already set up with all these aphrodisiacs, with all these fruits. So he knows he is getting some tonight. That's what he knows when he sees those things. Here's the truth. We have to do those sorts of things in marriage. Ladies, I know, literally, if I never had to wear real pants ever again, if I could only wear sweatpants, or quite frankly, if I could just wear pajama pants the rest of my life, I would be the happiest person on I don't need jewelry. I need nothing but soft pajama pants. If it were up to me, I would never change them. However, I want my husband to still want to be with me. And it's a challenge for us because honestly, I get up in the morning. I'm not a morning person on any level. I mean, there's nothing about morning that I like. Quite frankly, if morning started at noon, I'd be thrilled, but it doesn't, with 3 children going to school. I think that it's important. It's hard for me to get going, to want to put makeup on, to want to make myself look presentable, because quite frankly, I just want to wear my pajama pants. I have my favorite pair. They're like soft, black, and they have snowflakes on them. They're amazing. Quite frankly, those are an aphrodisiac to me. Tom could if he bought me a soft pair of pajama pants, that's it. No jewelry for this girl, just a soft, look, he's writing it down, he knows. Actually, he already knows that. So here's the thing. It's good. We need to remember what it was like when we first started dating. And I'm not telling you that every day you have to dress to the nines or every day that you have to do that. But sometimes our husbands deserve our very best. As a matter of fact, they deserve our very best all the time. But we can put a little bit more work into doing it. So gentlemen, I'm going to give you some thoughtful acts to do for us. At least this is how I function. Quite frankly, I don't care about jewelry. I would rather Tom get me 50 pairs of cheap earrings than 1 pair of really expensive ones, because I like to wear different kinds. I'm not the same kind of girl that wears the same jewelry all the time. And so the most amazing thing in the entire world for me, my favorite thing ever, is when Tom does the dishes. Honest to God, if the dishes are done when I come home, I'm like, he can have whatever he wants for weeks. I love when he does the dishes. Maybe you don't care about the dishes. Maybe you don't care about getting the clothes folded. Maybe you don't care about giving the kids a bath because you don't have kids yet. I'm not telling, if you don't live together, you're not married, you could care less about the dishes. Maybe you don't care. Do something that she cares something about. Here's the best part. If you care nothing about it, she probably cares a lot about it. So do that for her. Do something that only means something to her. And I think another thoughtful thing is do something that they like to do. For me, Tom's love language, mine is words of affirmation, and his is time spent. So literally, for my husband, if we sat on the couch for 12 days in a row and watched movies all day long, it would be like vacation for him. The greatest weeks of his whole life. Not me. So and he loves video games. We've had every video game system known to man, I think. As a matter of fact, I think we probably have 3 video game systems in our house at this time, which doesn't quite make sense to me because you can only play 1 at a time, but whatever. So I learned to play video games with my husband. Not for me. I could care less about, I don't even know. Although I do love Ratchet and Clank. I do. There's this one game where well, anyway. I started to play video games not for me, but because my husband liked that. When it comes to thoughtful acts, you need to think of them first. And actually now I don't mind playing video games. I don't need to play all of them, but I do enjoy doing that. And that means something to Tom because he knows I'm not playing video games for me. I'm playing video games for him. So those are thoughtful acts. The third thing is if you want something different, be it. You have to be different. Remember earlier in the story we learned that Solomon's wife said, I'm not going to be like the veiled women who gave themselves to other men. And what she was saying here is I'm going to be different. A lot of the other women in our society give their bodies to men, and I'm not doing it. If you want that, go. There are plenty of women that'll do that for you. Here's part of our problem. We do the same things over and over and over and over again and expect to get a new result. Well, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not even logical. And I think that we know it's not logical, but sometimes we just don't feel like putting the effort and work into it. We're perfectly fine with just complaining that they're not doing what we want them to do. And he says earlier, catch for us the little foxes that ruin the vineyards. And what that meant is the vineyards represented their body. So he said, we're not going to let all of these normal things, these sexual impurities and all these things, we're not going to let them ruin our relationship. And so last week we talked about their conflict. We were going through how they couldn't go to sleep and be angry, and how that's difficult to not go to sleep when you're angry. Sometimes somebody just makes you super mad and you just don't want to see them. Well, if you want to have relationships that the norm right now has, well then go to bed angry. Things that I hate the most is when Tom does so many weddings, and so we go to so many weddings. And I hate when the groomsmen are like, oh, you're getting your ball and chain. Oh, this is terrible. The rest of your life is over. It's just so sad to me because already you're starting out something that's meant to be incredible and amazing. You're starting it out with this negative, like this, gosh, this is going to be terrible. If you want something different in your relationship, you have to be different. You have to do things that are different. And the hard part, and I think the Bible, I think life, I think everything about life, I think everything comes down to this. You reap what you sow. There's no changing it. If you're planting apple seeds, I don't care how much you want those apples to be orange trees. They're never going to be orange trees. They're always going to grow to be apple trees. So if all you plant in your relationship is anger and tension and sarcasm and cutting remarks, don't you think that that's what you're going to get? Your spouse or your significant other is going to reciprocate it, and it's going to intensify. If Tom walked in the door from work and he said, "Did you do anything today? I can't believe the house is a mess. How could you not possibly have folded the laundry?" Instantly, I'd be angry and be like, why don't you try to do it? You have no idea what it's like to do this all day long with 3 children running around and this mess. Instantly, you reap what you sow. What you put into something is what you're going to get every time. So my best advice to you, if you don't like what your relationship looks like now, then do something about it. Change it. Make it different. And here's the crux of it all. As much as you want to change your significant other, you can't do it. You're never going to do it. You can't change someone. You only can change you. And I always you always get, you get more bee with honeys than vinegar. Is that the saying? Well, obviously. If we get it with something simple like that, why do we not get it in our relationship? I know that sometimes we act out of frustration and we act out of anger, we act out of all these things, but it's never going to make our relationships better. When I look into the world today and I look at relationships in our world, I don't want that for my kids. I don't want the statistic for my children that they're probably going to get divorced. I don't want that for them. So when Tom and I got married, I don't want that for Tom and I. When Tom and I got married, we made some really conscious choices. We both come from divorced families. We both come from families that fought a lot, and sometimes it was really volatile. And so before we even got married, we said, we are not going to fight. Tom said before, yes, we have argued and we have had conversations, but we made a conscious effort before we even got married that there would never be low blows. There would never be yelling. There would never be name calling. We'd never stoop to a level that we would regret. And I think there's things in relationships that you can do. Is that to say that Tom and I have never been frustrated with each other? No, of course we've been frustrated with each other. We're two totally different people. But we made a conscious effort that if we wanted our relationship to be different than our parents' relationships, we had to do something differently. And honestly, I adore my husband more than anything in the whole world. He is the best father. He's the best husband. He has walked me through so many things. My dad is not a part of my life. He has been everything that I've ever needed. And I'm so grateful, and I love you with all of my heart. I'm so thankful that I get to be married to you. And I'm thankful that you honor me in every way, that you give me this opportunity, that you're there for me when I'm hysterically crying about anything and everything. If anybody knows me, I cry about, like I want to cry a little right now. I cry about everything, and this man does not cry. So he just lets me go. It's fabulous. He loves me for me. But Tom knew that he married me. And he was never going to get this woman that is stoic and never going to get this woman that just had it all together all the time. Tom doesn't try to change me. He works with me. So if you're struggling in your marriage or in your relationship right now, look at you. What are you giving into that relationship? And I promise you, if you make the effort to make the change in your own heart and in your own relationship, you will see a difference in your spouse. You reap what you sow every single time. And so when you see this couple do this, basically they go away, they have a great time together. She has put purposeful thought. They have literally been super specific, more than I needed to know about the two of them. But they love each other. And so here is what she says. This is how she ends chapter 8. It's in verse 6. And I love this verse. And it's actually, if the worship team wants to come up, they're just going to play behind me. And just real softly, it's actually where the last song that we sang, the You Won't Relent, it's where the song came from, this actual part. And she's been loved. This woman's been loved. She's been honored. She's been cherished. And you can tell that when she says these things, that she deeply, deeply loves him. He has done everything to make her feel cherished. I feel like when I read this, she's looking into his eyes, and there's nobody else in the world. It's just the two of them. And here's what she says. It's chapter 8, verse 6. It says, "Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For your love is strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire for the very flame of the Lord." It's sacrificing. She is saying, there is no feeling and emotion that I feel that is more intense than the love that you have for me. God puts things in the Bible for a reason, not just to make me blush and want to die when I read them. He puts them in there for two reasons. Here's the thing about the Bible. He wants us to see a practical application of a relationship. And I love this Song of Solomon because it goes through all of the parts of the relationship. It didn't just go through all the fluffy, wonderful parts. They had a big fight last week or 2 weeks ago. They had a fight. And so God wants you to be able to see practical application of this. But God also puts these things in here because he wants you to know how he feels about you. He has unending love for you, and not just a love that is a blank love. You know, we hear the verse, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son." That's incredible. I mean, I wouldn't give up my children. I love all of you, and I do love you, but I'm not giving up my children for you. God did that for us. That's an unending love. But he is saying here, it's as strong as death, the feeling that I have. You can't do anything about death. When it comes, it comes. This love is that strong. So what I want to do, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to pray over you guys at the end, but I'm going to make you do what I talked about today. There's 3 areas. If you are with your significant other today, you are going to tell them why you love them. You're going to say, I love you because, and not just one thing. I don't want it to be something silly and ridiculous. I want you to look at them and really tell them. And if you're embarrassed, I'm sorry. That's why we're playing music. No one else is going to hear you. I want you to tell them why you love them. It could change the direction of today. And maybe you're not here with your significant other. I want you to get on your phone, because everybody has a phone. If your significant other is not here today, or you can't tell them face to face, I want you to text them why they're important to you. Or maybe you're in the 3rd category where you're single and the opposite sex just sucks right now. Or maybe you just can't find someone that's good enough for you. I think that can be true. I know most of you very well, and they're just people that might not be good enough for you out there right now. They will come, I promise. So what I want you to do is, there's notes on your phone. I want you to take the next couple of minutes, and I want you to do 2 things. I want you to write down 2 things that you want in a spouse, and I want you to write down 2 things that you want to be in a spouse. I know it's sort of weird, but this is all about action. If I talk at you and this doesn't do anything for you, then who cares that I said anything? So I'm going to give you, if you want to move, you can, because you don't want people to say the creepy things you're about to say to your significant other. If you don't want anybody to hear, then you can move. But they're going to play this. We're going to give you like 2 minutes to do it, and then we're going to come back and pray. So, ready, set. It can be weird and it can be awkward to express how you feel. But I have a really incredible marriage, and it's because we do some of these weird things. And honestly, even when Tom was telling me why he loved me, it made me giggle and I had to look away. Because it is a little bit embarrassing, but here's the thing. I want you to have what I have. You can have it. You don't have to have the relationships that you see your friends have. You don't have to have the relationships that you see other people have. You can have relationships that are meaningful and wonderful. And honestly, I adore my husband more than I did when I first married him. And it's because we work at it. It's because we do these practical things. I want that for you. So I challenge you to, for the next 16 days till the end of the month, and I hope it doesn't end, I want you to tell the people that you love why you love them. And if you don't have a significant other right now, tell your parents why you love them. Tell your friends why they're important to you. Tell the people in your life what they mean to you. It is life-changing when you speak words of life. So I'm going to pray. I just want to pray over you quickly. If you guys need prayer for anything else, or you want to talk, or whatever, you're welcome to come up and talk to Tom and I at the end. But I'm just so thankful that you guys let me talk to you about embarrassing things, and you let me be myself in these situations. And I do, more than anything, want you to have successful, loving relationships. So let's pray. Father, I thank you for each person that is here, Lord. And I thank you for each phase of life that the people that are in this room are in, God. I pray for those that don't have someone yet, God. I pray that you would begin to prepare them, and you would prepare the hearts of their spouse to be, God, even right now, Lord. I pray that you would help them put these habits into practice now, God. I pray for married couples that have great marriages. I pray that they would be strengthened, and I pray that they would continue to bless each other and continue to speak life and continue to think of each other and be purposeful in their acts, God. And Lord, I just pray for those that are struggling, Father, in their marriages, or they're struggling in their relationships when it's hard. God, I ask that we would begin to think of each other first, Father. That we'd put the other person's thoughts and the things that they desire ahead of our own, Father. Lord, I just ask that you would begin to strengthen all of our relationships, our friendships, our marriages, God. I pray that you would help us to be different. I pray that the people that come to rescue would feel different and would look different and would be different when it comes to relationships, God. And I pray that people would ask us where that comes from and why we're like that. Lord, I ask that you would move in power. Help us to be strong this week. Help us to speak life and not death. Lord, I ask that it would be an incredible next couple of days, God, and that we would see the change, that it would be visible and tangible to us. We love you and we praise you. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
You are listening to Rescue Community Church. For more information, check us out at www.rescue.cc.